murders and minivans, where the coffee is cold, the kids are wild, and the crimes are absolutely unhinged. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tally. Let's talk murders, motherhood, and why we trust absolutely no one.
Happy Sunday. Sunday fun day.
Apparently.
Sunday fun day.
And I think we're too old. I'm too old. I won't group you into this.
Yeah, ouch. Why? Why are we too old to have Sunday fun day?
Oh, you are older than I am.
If we were twins, it'd be like by 20 minutes.
It's true. It's true.
I
It's
feel
only
like-
like a year. Not even.
It's a month.
11 months.
Oh, ouch. But it's fine. How are the girls? Saturday. Let's start with Saturday. My kids had activities. What did your kids do?
I don't know.
Didn't you have a nice Saturday? A chill Saturday?
You know what? It was my friend's divorce party. That was the highlight.
Ooh. Did you have a cake like with a coffin on it? Because that's my dream.
No, I made the cake. And it was a small cake because none of my friends like sweets.
Oh my God, what are they all on Atkins?
I know.
Ew.
I don't know how they don't like sweets. I'm like, what do you mean?
Don't they have not kids? What else do they have to do with their time other than eat sweets?
That's what I would be doing. So I made her a pink cake.
Fun.
And it had heart sprinkles on it, which Brian said, why did you put heart sprinkles on it?
What are you going to do? Draw like jagged crosses over each tiny heart sprinkle?
I don't know. But it was a lot of fun. I loved learning that everybody hated him just as much as I did.
Yes, that would be nice. Nice to know.
Very reassuring to know that I wasn't a hater. What'd your kids do?
We had activities and then they had a recital today. So very serendipitous. The piano class that S is in combined with the singing group that E is in, and they perform the same song. So they performed Just the Way You Are by Bruno Mars, and I cried because it was beautiful.
Oh, that's
And
so cute.
Yeah, it was nice. Neil was actually off this year, so I recorded E, and then Neil was kneeling over by S, so we recorded the whole thing.
Oh.
So we're really going to test my video editing skills. And I'm going to try to splice them together magically. So we'll see how it goes. Because my sister, who has no kids and also all the time in the world, she's like, I wish someone in the family had video editing skills. I'm like, for fuck's sakes.
You have all the time in the world.
You could learn this skill from scratch.
100%.
So I'm going to give it a go. Maybe if I can find the time and splice their video together, which would be adorable because it's the same song.
That is really cute.
But so we'll see. That was fun. And then we went to like a fancy French cafe after and everyone got a treat.
They make the best macarons.
I'm
though.
still full. I had the almond croissant and I'm just I was full coming here and I'm still full. And then you fed me again and I'm full again.
I do not like almond croissants.
What do you not like about them?
I don't like...
Do you like croissants?
I do.
Do you like Joy?
No.
I didn't think so.
I don't like that, what is that? Marzipan. Anything that tastes like marzipan, automatically, I'm a hater.
Is it like on the inside? I don't understand what the marzipan is.
I can like taste it immediately. I can taste almond extract and marzipan in a second.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I don't know why. I love almonds.
There cannot possibly be a lot of it because it's not like a chewy texture on the inside of a croissant.
I'm going to have to try it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try it.
I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm actually curious
No.
where the marzipan is because I love an almond croissant.
I feel like I can taste it.
Probably. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Maybe.
Well, this is an awful case and it's so long. But
always
I'm going to try and hammer through it. This is the story, because I mentioned this last week. This is the story of Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Ken and Barbie Killers.
I thought you were going to make me wait.
No.
Honestly. Okay.
No, and I was going to do a specific case, but then I'm like, no. I
Too
need
excited?
way more time to do this, and this makes sense because I brought it up.
Cool.
We'll go into Paul Bernardo. So Paul was born on August 27th, 1964 in Scarborough, Ontario, which is like a district of Toronto.
Yeah, but usually after you say his birthday, you tell me what he is.
Virgo.
Thank you.
So Paul seemed like he had a relatively normal childhood on the surface. He was the youngest of 3 children. He was born to Kenneth Walter Bernardo and Marilyn Elizabeth Bernardo. But as we'll see throughout the story, surfaces can be incredibly deceiving. The Bernardo household was deeply dysfunctional. Paul's dad, Kenneth, was a sexual predator who regularly abused Paul's older sister, Deborah, in front of other family members.
Oh, that's horrendous. Ugh.
So this wasn't hidden. It was happening in their home, and Kenneth would eventually be charged with crimes involving voyeurism and pedophilia. Think about what that does to a child. Growing up in an environment where sexual abuse is normalized.
To his oldest sister. Mm-hmm. So like a senior, like a matriarchal position in your family. Oh, that's horrendous.
And where the most vulnerable members of the family are victimized openly. Paul's mom, Marilyn, dealt with the nightmare by withdrawing. She suffered from depression and agoraphobia. Agoraphobia?
Yeah, agoraphobia.
Yeah. A fear of being in situations where escape might be difficult. She literally moved into the basement to separate herself from the family. So you have this home basically where the father's a predator and the mom has checked herself out of being in this family essentially. And the children are left to navigate in this toxic environment on their own. Here's the thing about Paul though. He was very good at wearing a mask. He presented himself as happy and well adjusted. He was an active member of Scouts Canada. Red flag.
Ew.
Friendly, charming, and...
charismatic.
Yep.
Sorry, I was looking at castration law.
Okay, well...
Not the same.
Well...
Not the same.
Anyways, okay. So people liked Paul, but underneath that facade, something dark was developing. He had pyromaniac tendencies. So remember that, triad?
Yes,
That
from
I
last
talked
week.
about? Yeah. So he was setting fires and developing...
Triad.
Did I say triad? Oh my, you know what? English is my second language.
I know.
Don't judge my English. Paul at this point was developing disturbing sexual fantasies. One of these fantasies involved creating what he called, quote, a virgin farm, unquote.
Wow.
Where he would breed virgin girls to rape.
Oh, that's worse than
Yeah.
I originally... And to be fair, I originally pictured it as horrible, but his is even worse than what I pictured.
So this wasn't just a troubled kid acting out. This was somebody whose sexual fantasies involved systemic, organized rape and control. And he wasn't even out of his teens at this point. Then in 1981, everything shifted. Paul was 16 years old when his parents had a fight, and his mom told him something that would fundamentally alter his identity. Kenneth wasn't his biological father. Paul was the result of an extramarital affair.
Ew.
For any teen, finding something out like this would be devastating, but for Paul, who was already developing into somebody with serious psychological issues, this revelation seemed to give him permission to fully embrace his darker impulses. Kind of like push him over the edge. He started calling his mother a slut and a whore.
Wow.
And she reciprocated by calling him a bastard from hell. The family dynamic, which was already poisonous, became completely toxic at this point. And when Paul's first girlfriend eventually left him for one of his friends, he retaliated by setting fire to all of her belongings that he could access.
Jesus.
So this is something that we're going to see throughout his life. When Paul doesn't get what he wants, he feels rejected or loses control and then lashes out with violence. So Paul went to attend Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate Institute and then the University of Toronto in Scarborough in 1982, where Russell Williams attended.
Ugh. Which we talked about
That was
last
the connection, yeah. I don't know what's going on at the U of Toronto, but you guys got to get that figured out.
Yeah.
Allegedly. At university, Paul and his friends practiced pickup techniques on young women that they met in bars. They were actually fairly successful at it, which tells you something about how good Paul was at initial charm offensive. But once he got women alone, the mask came off. He delighted in humiliating his dates in public and engaging in aggressive anal intercourse in bed.
Yeah. That feels like a trust exercise.
A big one,
Anal
yeah.
sex.
His relationships became increasingly violent and unstable. He threatened to kill his partners if they disclosed his abuse. And in 1986, 2 women took out restraining orders against him after he made obscene phone calls. Paul was escalating at this point, and in the mid to late 1980s, he would transform from somebody who fantasized about violence and committed isolated acts of aggression into a serial rapist and somebody who terrorized an entire community. Between 1986 and 1990, Paul Bernardo committed a series of increasingly vicious serial rapes in and around Scarborough.
Jeez.
He became known as a Scarborough Rapist, and his pattern was terrifyingly consistent. He would stalk young women as they got off of buses late in the evening and then follow them and then attack them, often near their own homes or in their own homes. So let me walk you through the attacks because the timeline and escalation is important to understanding who Paul was. May 4th of 1987, Paul sexually assaulted a 21-year-old woman in front of her parents' house after following her home. May 14th, that's 10 days. He raped a 19-year-old girl in the backyard of her parents' house. He's not waiting months. That's 10 days.
Yeah, less than 2 weeks.
Yeah. And then July 17th, I don't know why the gap. He attempted to rape a young woman, but she fought back. He beat her,
Good
but
girl.
ultimately abandoned the attack when she resisted.
Good.
Bravo. This is significant because it shows the resistance could work, but it also shows that Paul was willing to inflict serious violence during these attacks. September 29th of 1987. This one is important. Paul broke into a 15-year-old girl's house and entered her room. He jumped on her back, put his hand over her mouth, threatened her with a knife, bruised her face, and then bit her ear. Her mom heard the commotion and then entered the room screaming, which made Paul flee. But here's a truly awful part. A 19-year-old named Anthony Heinemeyer was wrongfully accused of this attack.
Oh.
Yeah. He pled guilty to a much longer sentence and then served 16 months in prison for a crime that Paul committed.
Why?
Anthony was not exonerated until 2006 when Paul finally confessed. So an innocent man spent over a year in prison for a rape that he didn't commit because the actual perpetrator was still free and attacking other women.
Ew, that's awful.
December 23rd, 1987. So that's a week later. He raped a 17-year-old girl.
Ew.
And this is when he officially became known as a Scarborough Rapist. So the media picked up on this.
Why is this fun for people? Like, why would they even give him a nickname?
The media has this thing. They love to name murderers and attackers.
But then it makes it like a game.
I know. It's bad. Then the focus goes away from the victims.
It does. It's like a funny, catchy nickname they give to him.
I don't love that they do that. These attacks continued through 1988 and 1989. In May of 1988, Paul was nearly caught by a uniformed police officer who was staking out a bus shelter. The officer noticed him hiding under a tree and pursued him on foot, but Paul escaped. And then in October of 1988, during an attempted rape in Scarborough, Paul stabbed intended victim twice.
Ugh.
Once in the thigh and once in the buttocks. The wounds required 12 stitches and he was escalating from rape to violence that could have easily become lethal. By November of 1988, Paul raped an 18-year-old woman in the backyard of her parents' house. A dedicated task force was organized to identify the Scarborough Rapist because this was now like a major police operation.
Yeah.
And the attacks did not stop. Through 1989, Paul continued his pattern. And then in May of 1990, after raping a 19-year-old woman, the victim provided such a vivid description that police were able to create a computerized composite sketch. The sketch was released 2 days later, was publicized throughout Toronto and surrounding areas. Here's where things get interesting. Over the summer of 1990, investigators received 2 tips pointing to Paul. The first came from a bank employee in June. The second, more detailed tip came from a woman named Tina, the wife of one of Paul's closest friends. She told detectives that Paul had, quote, been called in on a previous rape investigation once in December of 1987, but have never been interviewed, unquote. She also said that Paul frequently talked about his sex life and that he liked rough sex.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's a brave woman.
Yeah. Good for her.
In July of 1990, 2 months after police received tips that Paul resembled the Scarborough Rapist, he was finally interviewed by detectives. From May to September, the Toronto Police Service submitted more than 130 suspects' DNA samples for testing.
Holy.
Yeah. On November 20th, Paul was interviewed again, this time for a little bit longer, and he voluntarily provided DNA.
Ugh.
But the samples sat there for 2 years.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
And it was 2 years before the samples were tested and then matched to the Scarborough Rapist. That was 2 years. It took 2 years to commit these crimes.
Was there a long backlog? Like, this is
I
annoying.
don't know. There's no, I can't find any reason why they took so long.
That's outrageous.
Yeah.
So 2 years, he was definitely guilty, but they just didn't do the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid.
When detectives asked Paul why he thought that he was being investigated for the rapes, he admitted that he did resemble the composite. But apparently, the detectives found Paul more credible than Tina.
Do you think it's because he was charismatic?
Yes. Honestly, yeah. And I think the cops even say that.
Ew.
Yeah, they were like charmed by him. But let's back up here because we need to talk about what happened in October of 1987. That's when he met Karla Homolka.
Ooh.
On a fall day in October of 1987, 23-year-old Paul Bernardo met 17-year-old Karla Homolka at a pet convention in Scarborough.
At a pet convention.
I know. It makes it worse. Karla was visiting from St. Catharines, a city about 130 kilometers away. The two shared an immediate attraction, and according to the accounts that we have, Karla was not just attracted to Paul despite his sadistic tendencies. She actively encouraged his sexual behavior.
Ooh, okay.
Now, this is where it gets complicated, and it's one of the reasons that this case remains so controversial. Karla will later say that she was an unwilling accomplice, and that she was a victim of domestic violence, and that Paul forced her to participate in his crimes. But the evidence, particularly the videotapes that will later be discovered, tell a different story. Karla Leanne Homolka was born on May 4th, 1970, a Taurus, in Mississauga, Ontario. She had a younger sister, Tammy, that was born on January 1st of 1975. By all accounts, Karla had normal middle-class upbringing. There were no red flags that marked Paul's childhood. There was no sexual abuse. There was no family dysfunction. Nothing like that. When Karla met Paul, she was 17. He was actively committing serial rapes in Scarborough. Did she know? We don't know. But given how close they became and how quickly, it seems unlikely that Paul's dark side remained completely hidden from her. What we do know is that Paul and Karla's relationship was intensely sexual and increasingly violent. Paul wanted a virgin. He was obsessed with virginity, which when you think about his fantasy of the virgin farm, makes a twisted kind of sense. But Karla was not a virgin when they met. And according to her later testimony, Paul was very disappointed by this.
Wow, okay.
He felt entitled to her virginity, and the fact that somebody else had taken it bothered him immensely. What? Why do you care?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Is that exciting?
Who cares? Yeah. This obsession with virginity would have tragic, horrifying consequences because by 1990, Paul had become fixated on somebody who was a virgin. Karla's 15-year-old sister, Tammy.
Oh.
This is the part where everything kind of shifts. So Paul had been committing serial rapes for years, but he hadn't killed anybody yet. And that was about to change. By 1990, Paul had lost his job as an accountant and he was smuggling cigarettes across the nearby Canada-US border. He spent a lot of time with Karla's family and they liked him. They had no idea who he was. Paul became obsessed with 14, almost 15-year-old Tammy Homolka. He would peer into her window. He would enter her room to masturbate while she slept.
Yeah.
And Karla knew about this.
That's worse.
In fact, according to her testimony, Karla aided Paul in these acts by breaking the windows in her sister's room to allow him access.
No.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah. In July of 1990, according to Paul's later testimony, Karla laced spaghetti sauce with crushed Valium that she had stolen from the animal clinic where she had worked. She served it to Tammy, who later lost consciousness. Paul then raped Tammy while Karla watched. After 1 minute, Tammy regained consciousness, and this was a trial run for them. They were testing to see how to drug and assault Tammy.
That's awful.
So 6 months before their wedding, scheduled for June of 1991, Karla stole the anesthetic agent halothane from the animal clinic. And December 23rd of 1990, 2 days before Christmas, Paul and Karla put their plan into action. They were at the Homolka family home. Tammy's parents were upstairs. Paul and Karla gave 15-year-old Tammy sleeping pills in a rum and eggnog cocktail. When Tammy lost consciousness, the couple undressed her. Karla applied a halothane-soaked cloth to her sister's nose and mouth. Karla later said that she wanted to, quote, give Tammy's virginity to Paul for Christmas, unquote.
Yeah.
The depravity is shocking.
It's awful.
But then something went wrong. Tammy began to choke on her vomit. They tried to revive her, and then they hid the evidence. They dressed Tammy, and they moved her into her bedroom, and they called 911. A few hours later, Tammy Homolka was pronounced dead at St. Catherine's General Hospital without ever regaining consciousness.
Holy, that's awful.
Despite the fact that Karla and Paul were observed vacuuming and doing laundry in the middle of the night, despite the fact that Tammy had a chemical burn on her face from the halothane,
Holy.
the municipal coroner and Karla's family accepted Paul and Karla's version of events. The official cause of Tammy's death was ruled accidental, choking on vomit after consumption of alcohol.
What?
Yeah. Can you imagine being Tammy's parents?
No. I couldn't imagine.
Jesus Christ. Honestly, I can't. Okay. Here's where things get more disturbing. After Tammy's death, Paul and Karla videotaped themselves having sex, wearing Tammy's clothing and pretending to be Tammy.
Ugh.
During Tammy's funeral, witnesses saw Paul caressing her body in its open casket. And inside the casket, Paul and Karla placed a copy of their wedding invitation, which showed a photo of them grinning, along with a note. These items were discovered when Tammy's body was exhumed 3 years later. In 2001, Elm Street magazine published an article implying that forensic evidence proved Tammy's death was not an accident, that Karla had deliberately administered an overdose of halothane. The magazine described Karla as, quote, a malignant narcissist, unquote, who was so incensed by her fiancé's attraction to her sister that she removed Tammy from his affections permanently.
Wow. What do you think? Maybe.
Oh, for sure. I'm a Karla Homolka hater. I can see in cases where somebody is a victim and they were maybe coerced to do things. I think Karla Homolka, as well as Paul, is inherently evil.
Okay.
I even at 17, 18, however many years you were old, your brain at that point, even though it's not fully developed, has the knowledge of right and wrong.
Yeah.
You have the biological need to protect your younger sibling. To me, I don't understand psychology, but to me, that's
also,
how I
you're
would
a
feel.
younger sibling.
Yeah, I was a younger sibling, but still, even as a younger sibling, I would be protective over my older sibling.
Yeah, I agree. I would make jokes about and with my younger sister, but I would never, ever cross the line.
No.
Never. No,
And that's
I would
the thing.
kill someone first.
Exactly. Yeah,
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Most people would stop here after this incident with Tammy. Most people, having accidentally killed somebody during a sexual assault, would be so traumatized that they would never do anything like that again. But Paul and Karla were not most people. They had literally gotten away with murder at this point, and the police believed that it was an accident. And there were no consequences. So to them, that meant that they could do it again.
Ugh.
6 months after Tammy's death on June 15th of 1991, Paul Bernardo was driving through Burlington in the early morning hours. He was on a detour to steal license plates because that's what he did. He came across 14-year-old Leslie Mahaffey standing outside of her house. Leslie Mahaffey had missed her curfew after attending a friend's wake and then had been locked outside by her parents.
A friend's wake. Just settle in. A friend's funeral.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what? The 90s were a different time for parenting.
Yeah, evidently.
According to Paul's later account, he left his car and approached Leslie, saying that he was planning to break into the neighbor's house. Instead of running away, Leslie, unfazed, asked if he had any cigarettes. At this point, Paul led her to his car. He blindfolded her and then forced her into the vehicle and drove her to his and Karla's house in Port Dalhousie. And then he told Karla that they had a victim. For the next several hours, Paul and Karla videotaped themselves torturing and sexually abusing Leslie while they listened to music. The contrast is jarring because they were listening to Bob Marley and David Bowie while a 14-year-old girl is being tortured.
That's so sad.
I know. At one point on the tape, Paul told Leslie, "You're doing a good job, Leslie. A damn good job."
Yeah, as if she has any choice in it.
I know. Adding,
Aww.
quote, "The next 2 hours are going to determine what I do to you. Right now, you're scoring perfect," unquote. He's treating the torture and rape of a child like it's a performance review.
As if she has any control over it. Mm-hmm. That's awful.
On another segment of the tape, the assault escalated. Leslie cried out in pain and begged Paul to stop. He was sodomizing her while her hands were bound with twine. And through this all, Karla was participating in filming. At some point, Leslie told Paul that her blindfold seemed to be slipping. This was a death sentence because it signaled to them that she might be able to identify her attackers if she lived. Mm-hmm. The following day, according to Paul, Karla fed Leslie a lethal dose of Halcyon, a sedative.
Oh.
According to Karla, Paul strangled her. We may never know the truth of who actually killed Leslie Mahaffey, but the reality is that both of them were responsible for her death.
No.
The couple hid Leslie's body in their basement because, incredibly, Karla's family was coming over the next day for a Father's Day dinner party.
That's awful.
That is fucking insane.
That's comically insane.
Yeah. After the Homolkas left, Paul and Karla decided to dismember Leslie's body and encase each part of her remains in cement.
Oh, good grief.
Paul bought 12 bags of cement at a hardware store the next day, and he kept the receipts, which would later be used as evidence against him. The next day, they made multiple trips to dump the cement blocks in Lake Gibson, about 18 kilometers south of Port Dalhousie. At least one of the blocks weighed 90 kilograms, 200 pounds.
Holy.
Mm-hmm. And that was beyond their ability to sink. It laid near the shore, which was found on June 29th, 1991.
That's bananas.
Here's the cruel irony. June 29th, 1991 was Paul and Karla's wedding day. As they were getting married, celebrating and taking photos, a fisherman was discovering Leslie Mahaffey's remains in a cement block. Leslie's orthodontic appliance was instrumental in identifying her body.
Wow.
Paul and Karla got married knowing what they had done, knowing that Leslie's family was desperately searching for her, knowing that her body was in pieces in the bottom of a lake. And they smiled for wedding photos. On April 16th, 1992, during the after-school hours, Paul and Karla drove through St. Catharines looking for potential victims. The streets were generally empty, even though students were still going home as they passed Holy Cross Secondary School, which was a Catholic high school.
Aww.
They spotted 15-year-old Kristen French walking briskly home. Mm-hmm. They pulled into the parking lot of nearby Grace Lutheran Church, and Karla got out of her car holding a map, pretending to need assistance. When Kristen looked at the map to help, Paul attacked her from behind, brandishing a knife and forcing her into the front seat of the car. From the back seat, Karla subdued Kristen by pulling her hair. Kristen's parents became concerned when she failed to arrive home. She took the same route home every day, and it usually took her about 15 minutes to get home and then care for her dog. When she didn't show up, her parents immediately knew that something was wrong and then notified police. Mm-hmm. Within 24 hours, the Niagara Regional Police Service had assembled a search team. They found several witnesses who had seen the abduction from different locations, which gave police important details. Kristen's shoe was discovered from the church parking lot, which underscored the seriousness of what had happened. This was not a runaway. It was an abduction. On Easter Monday, Paul and Karla murdered Kristen French before going to Karla's parents' house for Easter dinner. Again, they killed somebody and then sat down with Karla's family for a holiday meal. The casual nature of this is
staggering.
Bizarre. Karla would later say that Paul strangled Kristen for 7 minutes while she watched. Paul claimed that Karla beat Kristen with a rubber mallet because she tried to escape, and that Kristen was strangled with a noose around her neck, which was secured to a hope chest.
Wow.
Do you know what a hope chest is?
Yeah. Do you?
No.
Okay, I asked this because it's in Back to the Future. And so, like, I asked my mom decades ago. And it's, like, where you put, like, quilts and family things that you hope for your future. Young girls used to fill them with quilts and stuff for the babies that they would have in the future. Or your marriage quilt, because that was a thing. So it's all the things you hope for the future. Yeah. So a hope chest, that is horrendous.
My God. That is very sad.
And
I did
also
not know
very
that was
dark.
a thing.
Yeah.
Paul also said that after killing Kristen, Karla casually went to fix her own hair. Each of them blamed the other for the actual killing of Kristen, which is classic behavior. Mm-hmm. And Kristen's nude body was found on April 30th, 1992, in a ditch in Burlington, about 45 minutes from St. Catharines, and a short distance from the cemetery where Leslie Mahaffey is buried. She had been washed, and her hair had been cut off.
That's weird.
Yeah. Although it was initially thought that the hair was taken as a trophy, Karla said that it was to impede identification.
Yeah, as if cutting her hair would work.
Yeah.
Dummies.
What we know for certain is that Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka murdered Tammy, their sister, Leslie Mahaffey, and Kristen French. But there are strong suspicions that there were other victims. Elizabeth Bain, on June 19th, 1990, just before Leslie Mahaffey's murder, 22-year-old Elizabeth Bain disappeared. She told her mom that she was going to check the tennis schedule at the University of Toronto in Scarborough. 3 days later, her car was found with a large blood stain on the back seat. Mm-hmm. Paul matched the description of the man who was seen in the area where Elizabeth had been seen. And later, he confessed to at least 8 attacks in and around the same location. Elizabeth Bain's boyfriend, Robert Baltovich, was convicted of second-degree murder in her death in 1992.
Oh gosh, poor guy.
He spent years fighting his conviction, maintaining his innocence, and alleging that Paul was the perpetrator. In 2004, his conviction was set aside, and then in 2008, at his retrial, the Crown said that no evidence would be called against him and asked the jury to acquit him. When he was questioned about Bain in 2007, Paul said, quote, "The answer to that is no, but the 800-pound gorilla in the room is that it is a life 25 sentence," unquote. In other words, he's not going to confess to another murder because it won't affect his sentence. He's already serving life. Mm-hmm. Which, like, at that point, I'm like, well, you're already serving life. So just say this.
Yeah, just give the family closure. Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you.
There was the January girl, which during the weekend of January 12th, 1991, after Tammy's funeral, Paul abducted a girl, took her to the Homolka house while Karla's parents were out of town, raped her while Karla watched, dropped her off on a deserted road near Lake Gibson, and they referred to her as a January girl. She's never been identified.
That's horrendous. Mm-hmm. And who would want to, I think.
Yeah.
That's awful.
The rowing team attack. On April 6th of 1991, at 5:30 a.m., Paul abducted a 14-year-old girl who was training to be a coxswain.
I think she's the head of a row team.
Never heard that word.
I need to double check it. Well, Discovery of Witches talks a lot about rowing, and then there's another science-y fiction book that talks about that. Commonly abbreviated as Cox or Coxie is the crew member in rowing who does not row but instead steers the boat, directs the crew, and controls the pace and rhythm.
Okay, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
This girl was distracted by a blonde woman, who was probably Karla, Paul, to drag her into shrubbery near the rowing club. Paul sexually assaulted the girl, forcing her to remove her clothes, and then made her wait 5 minutes while he disappeared. This victim survived. There's never been a name. Jane Doe. On June 7th, 1991, Karla invited a 15-year-old girl that she had befriended at a pet store to their home. Jane Doe, as she's known in court records, was drugged by Karla and then sexually assaulted by both Karla and Paul. The assault was videotaped, and then in August, Jane Doe was invited back and then again drugged. Karla called 911 after the girl vomited and then stopped breathing while being raped. But the ambulance was recalled after Paul and Karla resuscitated her. Jane Doe survived, but for years, she didn't know that she had been assaulted because she had been unconscious. It was not until the videotapes were discovered that the full extent of what had happened to her became known. Sydney Kirshen. On July 28th of 1991, Paul stalked 21-year-old Sydney Kirshen after seeing her driving home from work. On August 9th, he resumed stalking her, but this time Sydney took evasive action, stopping at her boyfriend's house before Paul arrived.
Good girl.
The boyfriend spotted Paul, saw his gold Nissan, took note of the license plate, and then reported the incident to police, who established that that car belonged to Paul Bernardo. An officer visited Paul's house and then saw the car in the driveway, but did not pursue the matter further or submitted an official police report. This was a missed opportunity that could have prevented further attacks. Why? I would like to know why. I couldn't find anything why, but that one bugs me.
Maybe because the car wasn't tied to anything else ever.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
During Paul and Karla's honeymoon in Hawaii in the summer of 1991, a rape occurred that matched Paul's modus operandi, MO. A newspaper clipping about this rape was found during the police search of Paul's house. Law enforcement officials in both Canada and the U.S. believed that Paul was responsible, but due to extradition issues, it was never prosecuted.
Ugh.
Terry Anderson. On November 30th, 1991, Terry Anderson, a grade 9 student, vanished less than 2 kilometers from the parking lot where Kristen French would later be abducted. In April of 1992, police said that they had no evidence linking her disappearance to Paul. Terry's body was ultimately found in the water at Port Dalhousie. The coroner ruled her death was by drowning, probably as a result of drinking beer and taking LSD.
Wow.
This ruling was controversial given the circumstances of the Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French murders, especially since Terry's body had been in the water for 6 months.
Holy.
Uh-huh.
Imagine being the one to find that. Oh,
Yeah.
that's awful.
In 2006, Paul confessed to at least 10 more sexual assaults dating back to March of 1986, including the 1987 assault of a 15-year-old girl for which Anthony Heinemeyer had been wrongfully convicted. In 2008, the Court of Appeal for Ontario overturned Heinemeyer's conviction and exonerated him.
It's horrible. Poor guy.
I know. But think about how many other assaults Paul had committed that we don't know about. Victims that were never reported and attacks that were never solved. The scope of his crimes were staggering. We know about the Scarborough Rapes, at least 14 confirmed attacks. We know about the 3 murders, but there are likely way more victims than we'll ever know about.
Wow. Oof, that's awful.
Despite all these attacks and the warning signs and the missed opportunities, Paul and Karla were able to continue their crimes for years before being caught. And when they were finally arrested, it wasn't because of brilliant police work. No offense. It was because Paul beat Karla so badly that she finally turned on him.
Holy.
Paul and Karla were questioned by police multiple times in connection with the Scarborough Rapist investigation, Tammy's death, and then Paul's stalking of multiple other women. But each time, Paul's charm and Karla's apparent normalcy convinced police that they were not suspects. Remember, Paul had given police his DNA in November of 1990. It wasn't tested until December 1992, over 2 years later. In May of 1992, Paul was briefly interviewed by a Niagara Regional Police sergeant and constable. They decided that he was an unlikely suspect despite his admission that he had been previously questioned in connection to the Scarborough Rapist.
Wow.
So, like, they knew that he had been questioned before, and they're like, you know what? It's probably not him.
Oh my God.
Honestly, sometimes I'm like, I hear cop stories, and I'm like, you know what? I could be a better cop than you.
Sometimes there's excellent investigative work.
Yeah.
Other times you're like,
It's like,
that's
so
the best
we-
you can do.
And when I picture the situation, I literally picture Paul broing out with these guys, and then these guys being so swindled by him.
So charismatic, one might say.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then this couldn't be the guy.
Yeah.
We
Could not
questioned him
possibly.
before, but that's just a coinky dink.
Yeah.
Idiots.
And the small, very large suburb.
Yeah. And you know what? You can leave that in there. I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will.
I'll say it with my chest. 3 days later, the Green Ribbon Task Force was convened to investigate the murders of Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French.
Green ribbon, hey? Yeah, they sound ferocious.
Yeah. Around this time, Paul and Karla had applied to legally change their surnames to Teal, which Paul had taken from the serial killer antagonist in the film Criminal Law.
Wow, Zers. Okay.
They were so brazen that they were taking their new surname from a fictional serial killer. At the end of May, an acquaintance reported Paul as a possible suspect in all of these murders.
Good grief.
In December of 1992, 2 years after Paul submitted his DNA, the Center of Forensic Sciences finally began to test the samples. They were like, oh, you know what? Why
Maybe
don't
we
we
should
test
get to
these?
this. Yeah, Jesus.
God,
Did they not have enough staff?
I don't
Do we
know.
need to have some words?
apparently.
Horrendous.
On December 27th of 1992, Paul severely beat Karla in the face with a flashlight, leaving multiple bruises. Karla, claiming that she had been in a car accident, returned to work on January 4th, 1993.
Wow,
But her-
beaten woman syndrome.
But her
Holy.
co-workers were skeptical. Her co-workers called her parents, and then on January 5th, they physically removed her from Paul's house. But here's something strange. Karla went back inside to search for something frantically. What was she looking for? We don't know.
What? You're not going to tell me?
We literally don't know.
Why'd you bring it up?
Interesting tidbit. Like, what could you possibly... You're going back into your abuser's house? To look for what?
But it takes excessive amount of attempts to leave an abuser.
For sure. But, like, if you're being removed... I don't know. And maybe I'm just being biased here because I know this case. You're being removed from your abuser's home.
By friends and family who love you. they think.
Yep. And
Right.
then you're going to go back frantically to search for something. What could it possibly be?
Evidence that could be used against you.
Oh, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like, but what specifically could it be?
Oh, I don't know. Because how could it be one thing?
Mm-hmm.
Could she be like frantically searching the house for things that would make her look guilty?
Probably.
I don't know.
So Karla's parents took her to St. Catherine's General Hospital, where she gave a statement to police that she was a battered spouse and then filed charges against Paul. Paul was then arrested and then later released on his own recognizance.
Reconnaissance?
That's the word.
Okay.
Karla moved in with her aunt and uncle in Brampton. Then, 26 months after Paul submitted his DNA sample, the police service was informed that it did match that of the Scarborough Rapist.
Holy.
I
Get
know.
your shit together.
Literally.
26 months?
It's so
There's no
infuriating.
excuse for that.
Yeah, and like I don't know the ins and outs of DNA, but for
But
fuck's
it's a
sakes,
simple test.
Jesus
It's
Christ,
a simple test.
just do it.
23andMe can do it through the mail in less
and I
time.
know that it was the 90s, and yeah, there's a reason for everything. Should have been done earlier.
Yeah. Come
Done.
on.
Paul was immediately placed under 24-hour surveillance.
Good
On
one.
February 9th, 1993, investigators interviewed Karla. Despite hearing about suspicions regarding Paul, Karla focused on his abuse of her. But later that night, she divulged to her aunt and uncle that Paul was the Scarborough Rapist.
Holy. Her poor aunt and uncle were probably like, what the fuck did we get into?
I know. And that they were involved in the rape and murder of Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French, and that the crimes had been recorded on videotapes. The Niagara Regional Police reopened the investigation into Tammy's death. 2 days later, Karla met with attorney George Walker, who sought legal immunity from the Crown in exchange for Karla's cooperation.
No.
The couple's name change to Teal was approved on February 13th of 1991. On February 17th of 1993, detectives arrested Paul Bernardo on several charges and then obtained a search warrant for his house. But here's the problem. Because of his link to the murders was still considered weak, the warrant was limited. There was no evidence that wasn't expected and documented in the warrant that could be removed from the property. All videotapes found by police had to be viewed inside of the house.
Yeah.
Damage had to be kept to a minimum. They couldn't tear down walls looking for tapes. The search lasted 71 days, and the only tape the police found was a brief segment of Karla performing oral sex on Jane Doe. Where were the other tapes? The one that Karla had told police about. The ones that had documented the torture and murder of Leslie and Kristen. During a phone call from jail, Paul told his lawyer, Ken Murray, that the videotapes were hidden in a ceiling light fixture in the upstairs bathroom. Murray found the tapes and, incredibly, hid them from investigators.
What?
He kept them hidden for 17 months.
Holy.
Yeah. Finally turning them over to police only after he resigned as Paul's lawyer and then was replaced by John Rosen.
Why?
This fucking drives me insane, this specific point. He was disbarred. After this, yeah. So on May 5th, 1993, George Walker was informed that the government was offering Karla a plea bargain. 12 years imprisonment for 2 counts of manslaughter instead of murder charges. She had 1 week to accept. If she declined, the government would charge her with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of second-degree murder, and other crimes. Walker accepted the offer, and on May 14th, Karla's plea bargain was finalized. Karla told police that Paul boasted that he had raped as many as 30 women, twice as many as police suspected. She painted herself as an abused woman, a victim who had been coerced and controlled by a violent psychopath. Without the videotapes, prosecutors believed her story. But then Ken Murray found the tapes. And when John Rosen finally turned them over to police and prosecutors got to watch them, they were horrified. The tapes showed that Karla was not an unwilling participant. She was an active, engaged, and in some segments, she appeared to be enjoying herself. She did not look like somebody that was being coerced. She looked like somebody who was a willing accomplice to torture and murder. The tapes showed Karla sexually assaulting 4 female victims, having sex with a sex worker in Atlantic City, and drugging unconscious victims. In the segments with Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French, Karla could be heard and seen participating in the assaults. And critically, the tapes showed Karla's involvement in Tammy's rape and death, and she was the one who had stolen the drugs and who had applied the halothane-soaked cloth to her own sister's face.
No.
That part is so fucking horrific to me. I made a TikTok video about this. And I had a comment from an anonymous user, of course, and it was like, oh, she didn't kill her sister. Like, it was just manslaughter. It was just like an accident. I'm like, who the...
So
what a
she
fucking
accidentally-
insane take.
Yeah, put that soaked cloth on her baby sister's face.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was an
Accidentally
accident.
killed her. No, you made a choice. That was a risk
You
she took.
fucking drugged your sister so that your weird pervert fucking husband could
Fuck her.
rape her?
Yeah, no,
What the
that's
hell's wrong with
awful.
you? I don't give a shit if you intended to murder her or not. I don't give a shit. And so I just like, I commented back and I said, that's a wild take. And then somebody else said, hi, Karla.
Wowzers.
Because you'll see.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's Karla. But there's a community of Karla apologists that live in the true crime world.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't fuck with these people.
That's fair, yeah. I don't fuck with them.
So prosecutors at this point were furious. They would never have agreed to the plea bargain if they had seen the tapes. But legally, there was nothing that they could do. Karla had already pled guilty to manslaughter, and the deal was done. She was sentenced to 12 years.
Not enough.
12 years.
Not enough.
Now, the Canadian press dubbed this the deal with the devil. Public outrage was immediate and sustained. How could a woman who actively participated in the rape and murder of 3 teenage girls, including her own sister, serve only 12 years? How could somebody who videotaped these crimes and drugged the victims and who was there for every moment of torture had been given what amounted to relatively lenient sentence? Judge Patrick Galligan conducted an inquiry into the conduct of the prosecutors. He found their behavior, quote, professional and responsible, unquote. And the plea agreement was unassailable.
Unassailable. You're right.
Under the criminal code. Galligan indicated that, in his opinion, the Crown had no alternative but to negotiate with Karla because dealing with an accomplice was the lesser of two evils, rather than being left in a situation with a dangerous offender that couldn't be prosecuted. To protect Paul's right to a fair trial, a publication ban was imposed on Karla's preliminary inquiry on July 5th of 1993.
Interesting.
The Crown had applied for the ban and Karla supported it through her lawyers. Paul's lawyers argued that he would be prejudiced by the ban since Karla had been portrayed as his victim. And media outlets even opposed the ban. But here's the thing. Publication bans in the internet age don't work. American journalists not subject to the ban published details of her testimony, which were distributed by electronic ban breakers. So newspapers in Buffalo, Detroit, and Washington, D.C., New York City, and the U.K. published details. Radio and TV stations close to the border also reported on the case.
Well, and this has already taken so many years.
Oh, yeah.
Of time.
Yeah, exactly. So Canadians that lived near Buffalo, New York, would buy the Buffalo News across the border. That prompted orders to police to arrest anybody with more than one copy. Extra copies of the Buffalo News were confiscated.
It's bananas.
Copies of the New York Times were returned back at the border and not accepted by distributors in Ontario. Insane.
Holy.
In February of 1994, while awaiting trial, Karla divorced Paul.
No way.
Paul Bernardo's trial began in 1995 and it was a media sensation. The trial included detailed testimony from Karla and segments of the videotapes, though only the audio was available to spectators, not the video. Karla testified that Paul was responsible for the murders and that he strangled both Leslie and Kristen. Paul said that the deaths were accidental and that Karla was the actual killer. Who's telling the truth? Neither of them, I think.
Only people who saw the videos. As opposed to audio.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
On September 1st, Paul was convicted of 2 first-degree murders, 2 aggravated sexual assaults, and other offenses. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for at least 25 years.
Good.
So 25 years from 1995.
It's not enough. You're not going to like
It's
it.
already done now, isn't it?
Yeah, 2015.
Oh, he's definitely still in jail.
It's 20 years.
Yeah, he was designated a dangerous offender, making it unlikely that he would ever be released. Ken Murray, Paul's first defense lawyer who had hidden the videotapes for 17 months, was later acquitted of obstruction of justice, but faced a disciplinary hearing by the Law Society of Upper Canada.
What?
Yeah.
He was definitely guilty.
Oh, for sure. But lawyers
Weird.
be lawyering.
Yeah, true.
Paul Bernardo has spent nearly 3 decades in prison. For his own safety, he has been kept in segregation for most of that time.
Why? Why?
I know. I'm like, why do we fucking care?
Just let him, in with everyone else.
Gen pop.
They can deal with him for us.
And that's the thing. I'm like, why are we keeping these criminals safe? I know that, like, legally they have to.
But must we?
In 1996, he was punched in the... Sorry.
That was kind of funny.
Face by another inmate when he returned from a shower. Good. In 1999, 5 convicts tried to storm his segregation range, and a riot squad had to use gas to disperse them.
Wow.
Try harder, guys.
Yeah.
In 2006, Paul gave a prison interview where he claimed that he had reformed. Not possible.
No.
And would make a good parole candidate. Okay, Paul.
Absolutely not.
Sure, Jan. He became eligible to petition for early parole in 2008 under the Faint Hope Clause, but he didn't do so. In 2015, he did apply for day parole in Toronto, but according to the victim's lawyer, Tim Banson, it is unlikely that Paul will ever be released due to his dangerous offender status. Yes. He's been denied parole 3 times.
Good.
October 2018, June 2021, and most recently in November of 2024.
That's what I like to hear.
Each time, the victims' families have had to attend parole hearings and relive their trauma, listening to Paul explain why he should be released. And each time, the parole board has determined that he remains too dangerous to be released. In November 2015, Paul published a book, a violent, fictional, 631-page ebook on Amazon called, quote, A Mad World Order, unquote. It reportedly became an Amazon bestseller before public outcry led to its removal from the website.
What? Why did Amazon let that happen?
Who fucking knows?
Bezos. Yeah, you're ahead in the game.
Allegedly.
What the fuck were you doing? You kind of dropped the ball, bud.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everybody needs a book.
I agree. Psychiatric evaluations have consistently found that Paul is a psychopath.
Oh, no way.
He has scored 35 out of 40 on the psychopathy checklist.
Wow.
Reports have found that he has deviant sexual interests and meets the diagnostic criteria for sexual sadism, voyeurism, and paraphilia. He also meets the criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. Experts have concluded that he shows minimal insight to his offending and is more likely to repeat violent sexual offending. In May of 2023, after spending a decade at Millhaven Institution, a maximum security facility, Paul was transferred to La Macasa Institution, a medium security facility in Quebec. The transfer caused huge controversy. The public was outraged. The serial killer and rapist was being moved to a less secure facility. Now, initially, Correctional Service Canada did not provide a reason for the transfer, which fueled speculation. Paul had actually successfully applied for the transfer himself. In response to public outrage, Correctional Service Canada announced it would review the decision. In July of 2023, Commissioner Anne Kelly explained that the review board found the transfer to be sound in view of Bill C-83, which changed how segregation works in federal prisons. Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino was dropped from cabinet and then replaced during a shuffle, with media attributing his demotion to the controversy around the Paul Bernardo transfer. Karla served her full 12 years.
Good.
On July 4th of 2005, she was released from Sainte-Anne-des-Plaines prison in Quebec. Because she served her full sentence, there was no parole supervision, no ongoing monitoring, beyond some conditions imposed under Section 810.2 under the Criminal Code.
So she's just free?
Wow.
But
these conditions require to tell police her home address and work address, notify police of any changes, give 72 hours notice if she would be away from home for more than 48 hours, not contact Paul, the victim's families, or any violent criminals, not be with people under 16, not consume drugs other than prescription medicine, continue therapy and counseling, and provide a DNA sample.
can I say that that bar is pretty low?
The bar's on the floor.
Yeah, it's pretty, almost shockingly low, I would say.
So after serving 12 years for participating in the rape and murder of 3 teenage girls,
Including her sister? Sorry, I can't. That's
No.
a sticking point. I'm sorry. I
No,
didn't mean to interrupt.
that was literally my next line. I was laughing because I'm like, we have one brain cell. I share it. She could live where she wanted, work where she wanted, and be around whomever she wanted, including children.
I disagree strongly.
The public was horrified. There were
I hope so.
rumors that she planned to settle in Alberta. Can you imagine?
No.
Like, we'd fucking throw her
Yeah, there would be
We need to
some.
bring back public execution.
Yeah, there'd be some people.
Listen.
They would take care of it. Community justice.
Yeah. Say what you will about Alberta and our nut jobs. You throw somebody like Karla in here, she's gonna.
Let's just let the nut jobs take care of it.
Holy fuck! She will not. She will not survive here.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Yeah, allegedly. Now, then speculation suggests that she might stay in Quebec, where language and cultural differences supposedly muted media coverage. Or that she might flee overseas to start in a fresh country where her case was unknown.
Good riddance. But I bet you they still know about it.
Oh, yeah. In her first interview after her release, given to Radio Canada TV, Karla spoke entirely in French. She said that she chose Radio Canada because she found it less sensationalist than English language media.
Okay, sure.
Sure, Jan. She said that she'd found Quebec more accepting of her than Ontario.
Maybe.
I'm so glad this is not a video podcast right now.
that eye flutter was quite a thing to behold.
She affirmed that she would be living in Quebec, but refused to say where. She said that she had paid her debt to society.
I don't think so. I don't think that's enough time.
But not emotionally or socially. Psychiatric evaluations of Karla had been mixed and contradictory. One evaluator said that she remains somewhat of a diagnostic mystery, but Graham Glancy, a forensic psychiatrist, suggested that Karla might be a classic example of, I'm going to try my hardest at this word here, hybristophilia, someone who is sexually aroused by a partner's violent sexual behavior, but this does not fully explain her active participation in the crimes.
I feel like that's more accurate than the nothing the last guy said.
Yeah. In 2007, Karla gave birth to a baby boy. Quebec's Children's Aid said that despite Karla's past, the new mother would not automatically be scrutinized, though several nurses had refused to care for her before she gave birth.
Okay.
Good call.
Fair.
By December of 2007, reports indicated that Karla had left Canada for the Antilles and Guadeloupe, apparently so her child could lead a more normal life. But Karla returned to Canada. News reports in 2016 placed her in Chateauguay, Quebec? Question mark? Quebec.
I don't know.
With her children.
Some part of Quebec. Okay. Children. There's two now?
She had married the brother of her lawyer.
Okay, you know what? I accidentally saw that on Wikipedia as you were talking. I'm like, that can't be right.
It's correct. Yeah.
Ew.
You are not allowed to Google when I'm telling you the story.
Well, I thought it was pretend. I thought it was wrong. I thought it was fake news. AI, like all those sad dog videos that you said are pretend. That made me cry.
Stephanie's upset because I told her that the reels that she sends me are
I'm only moderately upset because I'm okay that they're pretend because they'll still make me cry. Sometimes you just need to cry. You never have that?
No.
You just need...
Well,
what?
Sometimes, yeah.
You just need to break the seal.
Yeah.
On the tears and just get it out, and that feels good, then you're fine.
I could send you videos to make you cry.
But like a happy cry. I want like a happy
no,
cry.
I can't. I don't have those.
No,
Sorry.
I don't want a sad cry.
Yeah.
No, I want a happy dog finding their forever family cry.
Oh.
Ugh, get on with the podcast.
Sorry.
Whatever. Okay,
So,
she has two... I almost said dogs, and that was bad. She has two children. With her lawyer's brother. Ew. Shame on you.
That sentence alone, I'm like, hello? Is anybody else fucking outraged by
How
this?
was
Or
the
is it
lawyer?
just me? I don't know.
Like, I feel like the lawyer should be like, bro, anyone else. Almost literally anybody else.
Anybody else.
An invisible unicorn. Anybody else. Pretend people.
Be in a relationship with AI.
Santa.
I don't care.
I don't care. Yeah. Not this human. Wow.
Yeah. Parents at the school that her children attended expressed great concern when they learned who she was, despite reassurances from the school and school board.
Okay, so my problem here is it's not the children's fault. Their mother's horrible, and they have no conception of how bad their mom is.
It's
not fair.
No, it's not. But why they are upset, and I did include this here because it is alleged. I can't confirm this for fact. Okay? So nobody sue me.
Okay.
But it's pretty well known. She changed her name multiple times. Mm-hmm. So she's not Karla Homolka in Quebec. Okay?
Okay.
They found out, allegedly, that she volunteers for school field trips.
Ew. No.
What?
She shouldn't be allowed. But how do you explain that to her children? that your mother is not allowed to.
I'd be like, I don't
trips.
want to volunteer. I don't know. Fucking come up with something. I don't care. That's your job. You're the one who made this mistake.
You could just quietly say no.
Homeschool your kids.
Our roster's full. I don't know.
Fucking, I don't know.
I'm okay with homeschooling if that's your family choice, but it shouldn't. I never want to punish the children for their parents' fuck ups.
I agree, but at the same time, I wouldn't. If I was at the school and I found out that Karla Homolka was supervising my children's school trips,
she should never ever
fucking light her on fire.
Because she would have to pass anywhere else. She would have to pass a child welfare check, which she wouldn't. She would fail it, and then a criminal background check, which she wouldn't. She would fail it. So in anywhere else, she would not be even eligible to volunteer on these field trips. So I don't know how she even got on these ones. There's no way she should have.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't have even been a problem because she shouldn't have got the clearance to go on these. So it should never have come up.
I agree.
I'm that mad.
No, thank you. I'm glad. I'm very irate about this still. So Karla Homolka's free. She has children. She goes grocery shopping. She goes to parent-teacher conferences. The families of Tammy Homolka, her sister, Leslie Mahaffey, Kristen French, they have never had that. Their daughters will never have children. Their daughters will never go shopping. Their daughters will never live any kind of life because Karla and Paul took that from them. Mm-hmm. In 2010, there was discussion about whether or not Karla would be eligible for a pardon, which would have covered up her criminal record and background checks.
No.
Public outrage led to fast-track legislation limiting access to pardons for serious crimes. A poll of over 9,500 voters found that 63% believed that the public had the right to know Karla's location, while only 18% believed that she deserved anonymity. 18%. Come talk to me, please.
No,
What's
she
wrong with
doesn't
you?
deserve anonymity.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't deserve to be anonymous. No.
18% is a large chunk.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty big chunk.
That's
far too many for my comfort.
I agree. One of the most frustrating aspects of this case is how many opportunities there were to stop Paul before he murdered anybody.
Or at least report. At least report.
Yes, I agree. After his 1995 conviction, the Ontario government appointed Archie Campbell to review the roles played by police services during the investigation. Campbell's 1996 report found that the lack of coordination, cooperation, and communication by police and other elements of the judicial system allowed a serial predator to fall through the cracks. So there was the DNA delay, the tip investigation. So multiple people reported Paul as a suspect, like a bank employee and Tina Smirnis, whose husband was Paul's friend. And these tips were not investigated. There was a stalking reports. So Sydney Kirshen and her boyfriend reported that Paul was stalking her. They gave police his license plate number. An officer visited Paul's house, saw the car, and did nothing. There was the Patrice sisters, Shanna and Carrie Patrice, reported being stalked by Paul. Carrie got his license plate number while Kristen French was still being held captive, and that investigation was mishandled by police. And the publication ban. So Ken Murray hid the videotapes for 17 months. And by the time they were discovered, Karla had already made her plea deal. Now, Campbell's report led to the creation of an automated case management system for Ontario Police Services called PowerCase, and that was designed to help investigators coordinate information in homicide and sexual assault cases. Ontario is the only place in the world with this type of computerized network. As an Albertan, I think we should be. Because we're better.
Yeah.
These systemic improvements cannot bring back Tammy Homolka, Leslie Mahaffey, or Kristen French, and they cannot undo the trauma experienced by the many rape victims. Was Karla a victim, or was she a willing participant? Did the prosecution make the right call with the plea bargain? Should Karla have served more time? And how many victims are there? And should Paul ever be released? He's now 60. He's 60 years old.
Not old enough.
Yeah, I agree. And how do we prevent this from happening again? The systemic failures that allowed Paul and Karla to operate for so long led to reforms in how police coordinate investigations. But are these reforms enough? What other safeguards need to be in place? Better cops is my answer. This case forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about evil, the justice system, the nature of culpability, and it shows us that evil does not always look like what we expect it to. Paul was charming and successful. Karla seemed like a nice, normal young woman. And they did not fit our mental image of monsters. Like, even if you look them up, they look like completely normal people. And it's jarring to me. Mm-hmm. When somebody tells you that somebody's bad, you can look at them and you can be like, yeah, they look like bad people.
Yes.
But when you take that away and you look at Karla and Paul, you're like, holy fuck, I want to look twice at you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If you really look at them, it's very insane.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Like the bad colonel we talked about last week.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Versus Karla and Paul. Staggering differences. Both, I don't know that I would say equally horrible. Well, maybe they were.
What the hell's going on at the University of Toronto?
Well, we don't really know
Allegedly.
For sure on each side how many times they were, because they weren't. They always thought there were more cases, right?
Yeah.
For each side.
Yeah, I tried to pull up as many as I could find that were possibly related to him. But that was just like my research. I don't know if the cops have more or what, but
Maybe.
there's no satisfying ending to the story. There's no justice that feels adequate. Tammy Homolka, Leslie Mahaffey, and Kristen French are still dead. Their families still grieve, and Paul remains in prison, likely for the rest of his life. But that does not bring anybody back. And Karla, perhaps the most controversial figure in Canadian criminal history, remains free. This case is a reminder that evil exists, that it can wear a charming smile and it can hide in plain sight. It's a reminder that our justice system, for all of its ideals, it's imperfect and sometimes fails victims in devastating ways. And it's a reminder that we need to listen when people report suspicious behavior. The Ken and Barbie Killers. It's such a glib name for something so horrible, but maybe that's fitting because part of what made Paul and Karla so dangerous is that they looked like a perfect couple. Attractive, successful, and normal, but they were anything but. Remember Tammy Homolka, remember Leslie Mahaffey, and remember Kristen French. Remember all of the victims whose names that we don't know, who Paul attacked during his years as a Scarborough Rapist. And they deserve to be remembered. They deserve to have their stories told.
Do you think she was a victim?
No. There's been a few cases like this, similar-ish, I guess, where I could see how she could be a victim. But I think what they said, I can't remember the name for, not like a kink, but like the thing that, the term that she has for like getting turned on by seeing her spouse do violent acts. Apt analysis, I think. Sorry for ruining your day.
Yeah, Jesus, that was a good one.
Yeah, sorry about that. Bye.
Bye.